freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your recap episode for this week's Canadian Open. Joining me to break it all down, Patrick McDonald is here. Patrick, good day.
What's going on, players? Great week in golf. Excited to touch on all of it.
The other playa who is here is Greg DuCharme. Hey, Greg.
I'm not sure I've ever been referred to as a playa before, but hey, there's a first time for everything. And as we say every Sunday night, it holds true again. What a week.
What a week. Comes down to the finish line. The Canadian Open has given us some unbelievable finishes over the course of the last couple of years. And this one, it didn't look like it could have been, or it could have been a runaway, Patrick, because Robert MacIntyre opened up this final round with a 4-shot lead, but bogey's the first, and because everybody else was moving behind him, that leaderboard gravity, that gap, it started to close fairly early in this day.
Yeah, it got interesting real quick, especially with all the players that are right behind him, all the big names. You had Rory making a move, Tom Kim making a move, and you're like, okay, Bobby Mack, you drop a shot on the first. Maybe it's not your day. Maybe someone else is going to pick this one off. Maybe Rory will shoot 61 like he did in 2019. Maybe Mac Hughes will get it done for Canada. And so quickly, an hour into this round, you had the runaway train that was Robert MacIntyre. That you're like, oh, this isn't going to happen. This is going to be close throughout. We're going to be dripping sweat throughout this entire round. And then there was just a lot of ebbs and flows, it seemed like, throughout the whole day.
Yeah, ebbs and flows indeed. Tom Kim flows out of the gate and birdies 3 in a row, and Robert MacIntyre makes that bogey. And Greg, it looked like to me, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Robert MacIntyre was a little uneasy, a little you fill in the blank.
On edge, aggravated,
perturbed.
Yes.
About to kill a drone.
About to kill a drone. There were multiple occasions in which he would not hit until they moved the drone away.
I
can hear it. Yeah. They caught some great audio of him with his
just because I'm not an American or Canadian, I'm a foreigner. I'm just a boy from Melbourne.
It was not a calm walk around the grounds of Hamilton.
No, he was very frustrated. And, at first when I was watching, I wasn't sure if it was like, I didn't pick up on the drone until a little later. It seemed like there were people in the crowd making noise. He wanted to quiet down. Then he started looking up into the sky, back it off. And I was like, is there a bird over? What is he looking at? And then you realize it's a drone. And that was really frustrating him. He was visibly upset, and yet it didn't really seem to affect the shots he was hitting. He hit some really high quality shots. He made some mistakes at 12 and 13. I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, this looked like a runaway train that was running off the rails.
Yeah, so let's look at that scorecard here, because he bogeys number 1, he gets it right back at number 4, and then with 2 more birdies here, Patrick, he does make the turn in 33. So I agree with Greg that on the surface, it looked chaotic and it looked like a lot of frustration and like he was not in control of his game, but he was still putting up, good enough score. I mean, he birdied 11, so he got this thing back to 3 under through 11 holes.
Yeah, and with that birdie on 11, he was 5 clear of the field at that point. So not only had he clawed back all the lead, which he had lost, Mackenzie Hughes tied him for like a split second pretty much. So he lost it all at one point, and then just an hour and a half later, he has it back out to 5. I kind of wish they kept the drone on him the entire day. Just say like, hey, tough luck, man. This is golf now. Like Nance said, he's got to get used to this. He's got to get used to the drone buzzing in the background. Good luck at Bethpage. And then right when you think, okay, after being super riled up, he's calmed down. He throws the double fist pump He's going to cruise to victory. And then he hits just a horrible shot off 12 with an iron in hand, loses it left into the hazard. Kudos to him. Great approach into the green. Saves bogey. Hits a bad approach and up in onto the par 3, 13th, the rink. Makes another bogey. And suddenly it's like, okay, back on.
Game back on indeed. Back-to-back bogeys there on 12 and 13, as Patrick alludes to. And, you know, even coming down the stretch on 17, he hits another one left, Greg, and has to kind of just punch one out. He punches it through the fairway. He makes a solid par there on the par 5. And then really, I thought the shot that he hit in 18 was unbelievable. We can talk about that in a second. But this was just vintage a guy trying to win for the first time on the PGA Tour. Oh my God, I probably can't feel my hands, my arms, my body. Like, I can't feel anything.
Yeah. You know, yes, I'm sure that was going on. Maybe the drone and the frustration separated him from that. It was like, I just got to deal with this drone. But, you know, perhaps that was a little separator for him. But you look at what Robert MacIntyre was doing, and we talked about this on Friday during the show on Sports Network. Maybe a little regression coming from a guy who was just filling it up on the greens, and it didn't happen. Right, he kept filling it up on the greens, but heading into the final round, I mean, just looking at the stat profile with a 4-shot lead, you could see this thing getting away from him very quickly. But what Robert MacIntyre did in this 4th round was he turned on the accelerator with the iron shots. I mean, after he got up and down at 6 from the bunker, he hit a good one at 7, 8, 9, 10, and then made a long one made a 20-footer at 11. All of a sudden, he strings together these iron shots and wedge shots where he's just knocking it in there close. And whether he converts or not, the stress, the panic is all gone. And you don't feel anymore like, okay, this guy doesn't have his game. You feel like, okay, this guy's kind of a complete player at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to connect a couple of those items there, Patrick, because one of the things that we talked about last night, talked about leading into the final round, was Robert MacIntyre's approach problem. He had lost 1.1 strokes on approach through the first 3 rounds. It is very difficult and very rare to win on the PGA Tour while you are losing strokes on approach. It's happened 5 times since the start of 2020. It just does not happen very frequently. So the big question was, will Robert MacIntyre improve his approach play on Sunday? Resounding yes. He gained 2 strokes on approach, 5th in the field, and the highlight was him standing up there on 18 after Ben Griffin had hit, like, I actually thought it was a much better shot than where it ended up. It was like a yard left of where he wanted it. Stuffs one to 9 feet, 11 inches, and 2 putts for the victory.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a guy who, despite all the nerves we're talking about, let's remember last summer at the Scottish Open when he blasted one to Kingdom Come left, rips a hybrid into the 18th hole in his own Nations Open to inside 5 feet and knocks it in to presumably win the golf tournament before Rory McIlroy stole it. So he seems to have that extra speed, I guess, when it comes to needing to hit a certain golf shot at a certain time. We saw it today with the irons specifically. He hit a number of quality wedge shots, and 18 obviously takes the cake there. But I think the one into 8 as well, the par 3, to hit that one just like a hair outside 30 feet and knock that in after Ben Griffin hit a great shot in there too, but wasn't able to capitalize. It was really impressive. Every time he needed to hit a high quality iron shot, it seemed like he delivered one.
The resume is looking pretty good, Greg. I'll have to pull the number on this maybe on Monday, but I can imagine the list of multiple time winners on the PGA Tour, winning Ryder Cup members, and PGA Tour winners is probably a lot of really sick names. And now that's Robert MacIntyre.
Yes. What was his other? I thought this is his first PGA Tour win.
Yeah, 2 DP World Tour wins.
DP World Tour wins, right? Right. Okay. I understand what you're saying. Yes, I think it's probably pretty legit. Now, the DP World Tour is where Robert MacIntyre has gotten a lot of his attention. The Scottish Open last year garnered him a lot of attention. The Ryder Cup obviously puts a big highlight on that name. But what he's done on the PGA Tour has been less than impressive for pretty much his entire PGA Tour career until this year. All of a sudden, you're starting to see, and I would still say it's less than what you'd expect from a Ryder Cupper, but you're starting to see him put together some reasonable finishes, some top tens, nice finish at the Zurich Classic, nice finish in Mexico earlier this year. And now you also had the tied 13th at the PGA Championship. And all of a sudden you get the sense that this is a game that's coming around. And you don't get the nickname Big Shot Bob without having the ability to handle pressure and hit big shots and big moments, as Patrick alluded to, just like he did in the Scottish Open last year.
Big Shot Bob is on the board with his first PGA Tour victory, earns $1.6 million for his efforts, moves from 75th in the FedEx Cup standings to 32nd, and does it with dad on the back, which was very, very cool. We will talk more about that, and we'll talk more about the rest of this board, but I'm going to pay the bills and take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
There are some things in life that you can't quite explain.
An extraordinary story.
Maybe it sounds flawless, looks effortless, or makes you feel like a part of history.
The first ever goal for BFC.
And when all of those phenomenons come together, it's perfect. Pitch perfect.
And we're back. The cool part about this whole thing here, Patrick, is Robert MacIntyre goes out, gets his first career PGA Tour victory, kind of stamps a new era of his career, and he does it with his dad on the bag. And this was a really cool progression because there was very little emotion from Papa MacIntyre for the vast majority of the week. And then it kind of all came out in that interview afterwards.
Oh, I'm just a grass cutter. It was a very cool scene. Bobby MacIntyre's fourth caddy in his last 18 months. We talked about him having all the game in the world, but to his own admission, he said he had to look at the man in the mirror and he realized he had an attitude problem, right? He thought his game should be in a much better place, but as Greg referenced, the starts this year on the PGA Tour, they've been pretty dreadful, to tell you the truth, outside this last month. But you look at his major championship resume, and he has 4 top 12 finishes and 13 starts. So the game is obviously there. And then you throw in good vibes, perhaps, maybe less pressure, just home, the strokes gained home life. He's talked about a lot, just moving from Scotland over to the United States, how difficult that is. And just having a sense of familiarity back on the bag with your dad and maybe taking some relief off it, right? It's like, oh, my dad's on the golf bag this week. I can go through the process slower. I can go through the process on my own terms, do all the yardages myself, and just have a good time with the old man. Rick, I said on HQ, it's an accomplishment enough for a competitive golfer to get through 72 holes with their father on the golf bag. It is sometimes not a fun experience. It was obviously a very fun experience for them this week. I think he's going to be 1 for 1 in his career. Mr. MacIntyre might have to retire after this, obviously. But yeah, just an awesome story and really cool to see the emotion from both of them afterwards.
Could you imagine if Mr. MacIntyre was like, come on, let me show you how to do it. I'll show you how to do it. I got some tips for you here, right?
Never lost.
Classic dad. Greg, we know and have been learning more and more about this recently that professional golf is very lonely, and it is especially lonely for European players trying to make it on the PGA Tour, whether they are going back and forth between the DP World Tour, whether they are now coming over here and trying to find their bearings for the first time, and where am I staying, and I'm on the road and I don't have a support system. Having Pops on the bag is just like, okay, some level of like comfortability. I've got a familiar face. all good. Let me just reset, refocus.
And he's specifically mentioned being lonely before, which I imagine definitely gives him a little bit of relief from that aspect, right? Because all of a sudden home comes to you, which is pretty cool. It's the man that taught him how, the grass cutter that taught him how to play the game, right? There's a element of, I would imagine, kind of getting back into the fundamentals. Right? They talk about the pace that you're swinging at. These are things that dads teach their sons. They're much more basic than what a professional swing coach is probably teaching a high-level player like Bobby MacIntyre. So those things are certainly relieving. They make the situation seem much easier. They make it seem like you're just playing golf again, which is really cool. And I imagine it had a big impact on Robert. Now, I cannot imagine what Mr. MacIntyre was feeling. I mean, just to see your son or daughter accomplish anything, right? A nice drawing from kindergarten or catching a baseball for the first time is so exciting as a parent. And I can't imagine having your son on the PGA Tour and winning with you alongside every single step. It's just incredible stuff and so moving. I think that's why afterwards they were largely at a loss for words.
Congratulations, MacIntyres. You are on the board, PGA Tour winner, and 16 under par was that winning score. It was Ben Griffin who was doing the pushing late. We saw Tom Kim and Rory McIlroy push early. We saw Victor Perez push in the middle, but it was Ben Griffin, Patrick, who birdied 15, 16, and 17, playing alongside Robert MacIntyre, applying maximum pressure.
I was so impressed by this round and the amount of patience he displayed. You get 2 early ones, and like you said, I'm monitoring Tom Kim, Rory McIlroy, some of these other names, and then with that birdie on 16 or on 16, you're like, oh my gosh, wait, Ben Griffin's still in the picture here? He's still doing this? And you see that par streak when everyone else is making birdies in the middle of his round. He rattles off all those pars in the row, and he just burned edges, just slipped out putts, didn't get to the hole quite enough. 5, he hit it to 10 feet, 6, 13 feet, 8, 8 feet, 9, 12 feet, 10, 11 feet, 12, 8 feet, 15, 2 feet, and got it going there at the end. And so the iron play was in a tremendous spot, obviously, a couple revolutions here or there, and we might be talking about a completely different story, to tell you the truth, but the amount of patience he displayed throughout it to keep himself in the game when nothing was falling on the greens was, really top-notch stuff from the Lone Shark.
Ben the Lone Shark Griffin.
He is the Lone Shark.
First in the field in strokes gained approach in round 4. First in the field in strokes gained approach for the week, Greg. I'll tell you what, I didn't know Ben Griffin had this in him.
No, and he hasn't really shown it before. This is his second best approach play week of his entire career. And Rick, earlier in the week, we're looking at the Canadian Open, and I got that from rickrungood.com, by the way. So kudos to that. But earlier in the week, when I was doing some modeling on rickrungood.com, Ben Griffin came up in a lot of my models. It was not because of approach play, right? It was because of putting. I put a very big emphasis on guys who are great putters this week. And that is a really uncomfortable place to be in when you're trying to pick guys to play well, because you're looking at the ball striking, and this kind of thing doesn't usually happen. You get a guy that's, he's had some good streaks with his approach play, but he'll gain strokes in 5 or 6 events in a row, but it's like 0.8 strokes in all of them. Right. It's not a significant gain where he's hot with his irons. And so you don't really expect this kind of performance, and it makes it really hard to click that name. But what Ben Griffin did this week and what he did on Sunday was absolutely incredible. I mean, he was doing it from the rough in a large majority of these. Patrick listed you the numbers. I mean, it was 9 approach shots inside of 15 feet. Half the day he's putting from inside of 15 feet for birdie. and he shoots 65 and is probably more than anybody else in this final round, thinking it could have been 62. Could have been 62. It's not a huge ask. I mean, you're not going to make all of those putts, but it's not a huge ask. So I think for Ben Griffin, he's probably ecstatic, especially considering the situation with his eyes, right? He's got floaters in his eyes. He's seeing squiggly lines throughout the week, which is extremely distracting. So he's battling through that. Apparently he's having that operated on Tuesday, have that fixed, eye surgery. That is very scary. But it didn't distract him from the flagstick, because that's all he was hitting at all day.
Rick,
Yeah,
we got to get the missus on here.
She heard that on the broadcast and was telling me she had a million questions. And I'm like, babe, I don't know. Like, you know as much as I do, right? Like, whatever you just heard on the broadcast about the squigglies that he's seeing, and when it's like, I don't know when it started. I don't know how big they are. I don't know if he's had any, LASIK. I don't know. Like, you now know as much as I do. So trust me, she's on it. She made it seem like it was a bigger deal than they were making it seem on the broadcast.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, she was saying something to the effect of, so a lot of people get like floaters, right? Like I get floaters too, but they're like gradual, like over time. If you get something where you get like immediate floaters, that is the sign of like, I'm not a doctor, could be the sign of like a retinal issue, like a retinal detachment. And if you have the signs of a retinal detachment, like you go into surgery immediately. Like, you don't put it off until
After
Tuesday.
the Canadian Open.
Yeah, exactly. So I listen, I'm just relaying information here. I don't want to be held.
But he is looking at surgery.
Yeah, he's going to get, which that was the thing. She's like, well, if he's going to get surgery and this elevates to the level of surgery, usually that is something that is done immediately.
Oh, it's not like a pre-scheduled, like, I got a rotator cuff issue.
Just for floaters? I thought floaters are fine.
So that's what she's saying. So floaters are fine, but if they're doing surgery for it, then it's not fine. Something else.
Well, maybe he, as a professional athlete, where his eyesight is pretty important, has to operate at a level beyond just, it's fine, there's a couple of floaters here and there. So maybe he initiated it.
Listen,
because honestly, I did ask when I met Rick in Las Vegas, I did ask Armina about floaters, if you can get them removed, and she was like, not really. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what she said. She's like, yeah, some people can burn them off, but
yeah, I asked her
why,
because I have them. I've been like starting to get them more too, and I asked her, and I was like, is there anything I can do about this? She's like, no.
Yeah.
So what, you guys have them?
Yeah.
What is this?
And I mean,
mine are pretty small and very skinny, but like, especially like in, I'm trying to get it with like the lights of my, setup here. You see little like lines, you see little floaters. They're like little squiggly lines in your eye, in your sight.
Wow.
You don't have those, Greg?
No, I have no clue what you're talking about.
Wow. Just living in the palace, non-floater palace over there.
I guess so.
Rick and I just, please, sir.
Well, my people will be in touch with Ben Griffin's people. We'll get this thing all figured out here shortly. A couple other notables here. I believe we have the scorecards for both Tom Kim and Rory McIlroy. Let's start with Tom Kim here. A 6 under 64, which was tied for the round of the day. There were 4 64s. Tom Kim, Victor Perez, Chandler Phillips, and Rory McIlroy. We'll talk about McIlroy in just one second. Patrick, I'm going to go to you because I know you are heavily tracking Tom Kim. He birdied 3 in a row out of the gates, but then did not take advantage of the par 5 four. Still an unbelievable round, but you were hoping for like 4 or 5 more.
The collusion on this runs deep. It's not lost on me. We have Josh tweeting Tom Kim 3 under through 3. Like, obviously he's not going to birdie the par 5 fourth now. That's just a no-go if you're throwing that out into the ether. And then it comes to my my knowledge. Who's following Tom Kim and Rory McIlroy today? Who's that voice I hear on my television?
Yeah,
Mark Immelman, and it's I get total collusion. I don't know how yet. But
Yeah.
it's there.
Mark
It
is
was
always
there.
Mark is always colluding to bring down our one and dones.
And so then he doesn't birdie the drivable par 4. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. The wedge play was in a really good spot. Mark is talking it up. This wedge play. I'm like, maybe Mark doesn't know that I have Tom Kim. Maybe we're flying in under the radar and everything's going well. Then he 3-putts. I know technically not a 3-putt. He was just off the green, but he 3-putts 13, I think. Doesn't take advantage of the par 5. Great finish for him. First time this year he really was in the mix, which is kind of crazy to say. But it's been a pretty uneventful year for Tom Kim. First top 5 finish. But if you birdie that par 5, that drivable par 4, you don't 3-putt, and you birdie 17, you're a winner, and I win $1.6 million, and I'm in first place. But no,
it was a 64. It was 13 under, and it was worth $423,000. We'll go through that full update in just a little bit. The other 64 from that same group was Rory McIlroy. These two went nuts, Greg. So we talked about how Tom Kim got off to a fast start. Rory McIlroy birdies 4 of his first 6. And after going out in 30 on Saturday, this was certainly getting the people all fired up.
Yeah, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't see a what if Rory goes out in 30 tweet today. I saw it yesterday. It was just as applicable today to speak to Patrick's collusion, which is clearly there. So we didn't want to do anything to take down Rory. I'm not complaining about it the way Patrick's complaining about Tom Kim's 64, but it's clearly collusion. Rory McIlroy's day, it was really nice to get off to that kind of start. It sparked a lot of energy. It made you feel like Rory's really in this thing. It also makes you wonder if he made a little more of a push in the middle of that round, how that affects, the other Mac in the field. And I had thoughts a couple of times throughout this day about Robert MacIntyre and Rory McIlroy in the Scottish Open, and it's happening again. Right, Rory's going to steal another one from him. But it wasn't the case. Rory just didn't hit it close enough. I think he hit it pretty well. I thought his iron play was okay. He hit 15 greens, but it seemed like a lot of them were hanging out to the right. And he was hitting it, to 25 feet right of the flag. And it was just hard for him to gather a little momentum. Where Tom Kim's backing up every wedge, it looks like it's going to go in. He's reading putts from the fairway. Rory was kind of leaving him out to the right in many instances. All in all, the one thing that Rory looks back on in this tournament, the reason he didn't win is just simply Friday's round. Friday's round got away from him. He hit it very poorly. He had very poor body language, made some very sloppy bogeys. And that's the thing that separated Rory from Robert MacIntyre this week.
Both Tom Kim and Rory McIlroy finished at 13 under par. That was 3 shots off of Robert McIntyre's. Did I say Robert McIntyre or Rory McIlroy? Did I say that right?
I think you said both. I'm confused.
I'm going to start over. Tom Kim and Rory McIlroy both finished at 13 under par, which was 3 shots off Robert McIntyre's eventual winning score. I might have said that the first time. I just didn't feel right coming out of my mouth. We have more to talk about, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to save those names for our bets recap, because we can kind of crack 2 nuts with 1 nutcracker over there, and then we can recap the one and done selections as well. So we're going to do that after a quick word from our partners.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
And we're back. Let's look at the grid for this week. And Greg, I want to start with you because I want to open up the conversation about the Canadians. You found a victorious Mackenzie Hughes over Adam Hadwin wager. Boy, tough. That was no sweat because Mackenzie Hughes vied for victory this week while Adam Hadwin missed the cut. So that was an easy one. But Mackenzie Hughes didn't have himself a great Sunday. He shot an even par 70 after making 3 early birdies, and he was certainly being carried through this golf course by the crowd.
Yes. With Mackenzie Hughes, it kind of felt like throughout the week, it was a little all over the place, and he was just finding a way to make a score, which is Mackenzie Hughes. But, the situation on, I believe it was on number 9, where he gets in the eyelashes of the bunker, and all of a sudden you start getting some tough breaks. He's hitting a lot of thin iron shots out to the right where the contact isn't quite as pure. And when you're playing on the edge like that, the way he did for the first 3 rounds, it's really hard to keep that going. Right. There was no Corey Connors like golf going on for Mackenzie Hughes through the week. So I'm sure it was emotionally exhausting. He touched the lead today, which was great. And then things really got away from him. And I think his general form kind of caught up with him. But all in all, it was a good fight. I'm glad he took down Adam Hadwin, even though I wish Adam Hadwin put up a little better fight. But it was a nice win in this matchup.
Yeah, matchup victory there for Greg, and a matchup victory for Patrick, who complains about the Tom Kim slander, but will not discuss the fact that Tom Kim started the day 2 shots behind Sam Burns. Sam Burns shot an even par 70. Tom Kim goes nuclear to win this matchup for him. I'm not hearing much of that, Patrick.
Greg, any thoughts on this matchup? I know.
I was thinking about it all day. I was thinking about it all day because Sam Burns. I usually don't follow everybody's matchup that closely, right? I'm not trying to throw any slander your way here, Patrick. But
yeah, all hashtag good picks.
Leads. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, whoa! All right, Sam Burns catches my eye. You're gonna go against Sam Burns in a matchup. For me personally, that scares me. I don't like to do that. So you did. You go out on the limb. Sam Burns is leading on Thursday. And it just cracked me up. But hey, hashtag good pick.
Hashtag good pick. That's what hashtag good picks do. They come through for us. And luckily Tom Kim did, or else I would have been shut out.
I was shut out on this grid, but we'll get to another grid here in a second. The other name that I want to talk about here, Greg, is Taylor Pendrith. You and I loved Pendrith coming into the week. You selected him for top 30, which was correct. We both lost the top Canadian wager. So Taylor Pendrith was the 3rd best Canadian. He finished at 7 under. Mac Hughes didn't even win top Canadian at 10 under. That pesky little Corey Connors shot a 65 on Sunday and snuck up into solo 6.
And all of a sudden he becomes like a putting genius. Who is it? Did he like borrow David Hearn's putter or something? It was incredible what Corey Connors did. So I had Pendrith top 30, which I am very pleased with. I thought Pendrith was going to be low Canadian. We talked about that a lot during the week, Rick. Which you could see there. That's actually wrong.
Protest. I'm protesting this.
I should be in the red there. So Josh will fix that up. But I had him low Canadian. There was one guy I was worried about. It was Mackenzie Hughes.
Yeah.
Who I almost went with as low Canadian, but neither were right because I did not have Corey Connors in the low Canadian aspect. But great that I went top 30 and not top 20 on Taylor Pendrith because I think he finished T21. Yeah. So I'm very happy I found the top 30.
That's right. And Corey Connors led the field in putting on Sunday because,
of
course he did.
That's foul.
The best bets. So this is the one that I got on the board. Not enough respect, though. Robert MacIntyre was the pick, but I had him at top 40, which was close to even money. He did much, much better than that. So, Josh, are those numbers correct? Those numbers are accurate then.
What are the overall numbers, not just the best bet numbers?
Do we have that, Josh? Do we have all the wagers?
Oh,
get it off the screen.
There's a saying. You don't ask questions that you don't know the answer to, or you don't want to know the answer to.
Edit that out.
was
Is this live?
horrendous. That was miserable.
Let's face the music here. Let's face the
All right,
music.
go back.
Go
Let's
back.
see it.
Wow. That is losing across the board.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you're losing by.
Look at us putting almost 11 units on the table so far this year.
We need to start hitting some outrights.
Yeah, have we hit
fast?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I've hit
like
a couple times.
Yeah, that's the problem.
4-1.
They're like, you get like $28 for that.
Yeah, I hit Rory. I hit Rory at Wells Fargo.
Sweet, you got like
4-1.
$2 for
Yeah.
that.
Here's a box of cereal, pal.
Yeah, I don't. We usually don't look at this. I just like to see green marks on the grid.
Greg,
the
you're just
profit-
you're just a hot week away. Honestly,
yeah.
the rest of us
mix.
we're in a little trouble.
I mean, Mark could win out and might not be able to get back to even.
Talking about collusion, Mark might be just making these picks to drag us all down.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Patrick's hanging in there with the return. You're close. Hit one of those big outrights.
Single digits in negatives. Yeah.
Single digit negatives.
Yeah, we just picked some small caps that didn't work out. And so we might have to get back into the blue chips coming up here and hope for a soft landing.
It's a tough year for the market, We'll be looking into the interest rates here shortly. Okay. Well, we have one other thing to do, and we will do that now. It is to update the one and done. I'm just looking through here. Okay, good. This will give us a chance to talk about some more. Okay. Release the one and done results, Josh. They're nothing. They're admittedly nothing spectacular here. Kyle missed the cut with Nick Taylor, so he remains at $3.34 million. Nick Taylor, title defense, greatest Canadian Open ever, not having a good year. That miscut, that was kind of predictable.
Yes, I agree with that. He fought really hard. He was really trying to make that cut. Played really hard. His game just not in that kind of form.
Mm-hmm.
I took Cam Young. I'm at 7.3 million. Shot 69-72, missed the cut. Does Cam Young stink?
He made like 5 bogeys in a row.
I'm going to just read you his. This is his Friday scorecard. Par, bogey, 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 birdie, bogey, birdie, birdie, bogey, par, birdie, birdie, par, double, par, bogey. Sorry, birdie. He made 1, 2, 3, 4. He made 5 pars.
Jeez Louise. Cam Young stink.
No, he does not stink.
I'd agree with Greg there. But there's kind of like he has an odor, I would say. Like not BO. You're not trying to avoid him because when he goes like that, it clears a room. It's more like oh, Cam Young's around. You can smell him.
His rookie year didn't help him.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, Greg.
Right. Cam Young is a very good player.
All
But
right.
he was almost rookie of the year. He was almost winning majors his first year. You think he's going to be, a rock star. He's not a rock star, but he doesn't stink.
What do you think, Greg? So let's just say, what is Cam Young's season rank in strokes gained total? So it's basically like how good, what number player is he this season?
92nd.
Wow.
He's 92nd.
I guessed. What is it? That was a guess.
Hold on.
Hold on. Before I reveal it, go ahead, Patrick, you can guess. But if you think he's 92nd, then he does stink.
I was like, holy crap. I was going to say, he has a number of good finishes, so that'll boost him to like 30th.
Okay. He's 52nd, and that does not include this week, which will knock him down like to 55th or something.
Not to 92nd. Okay, good.
But
somewhere in the middle.
I gotta see some life out of this kid.
Yeah.
It's gonna come when you least expect it, aka when he's
The
50
US
to 1
Open.
next week to win the Memorial.
Alex Noren for Josh. That was a missed cut, 7.4 million. First time since I can remember that Alex Noren stunk. Mark had Shane Lowry, 54,755. Patrick, look at you, Patrick. Tom Kim wins the week.
Chugga.
$423,000. You are now on the precipice of breaking through the $10 million mark.
I was so upset with those guys making all those putts late. Victor Perez on 18, buddy, you don't need it. You can settle for par. Ben Griffin finally making putts. It's like, oh, geez, Louise.
Yeah,
I was hoping for a runner up here. It would have been my third in the last 4 weeks.
they were chopping your payouts.
Yeah, chopping the payouts, but I'm finding my stride. I'm finding my stride and at a good time.
Gregory, $106,000 from Taylor Pendrith. You remain at the top of the board. You do lose ground to Patrick, but I think you will. I think you'll be okay here.
Yeah, it's a good week for it, right? We know how this game is played. It's played in the next 2 weeks are the weeks that determine who wins the one and done. Now, Patrick is certainly close enough in those weeks to make up ground on me. So I'm going to have to I'm going to have to stick to my game plan and, take it shot by shot. We'll see who I end up going with, but man, Tom Kim was a great pick. I still think Taylor Pendrith was probably the right pick for me. I'm not regretting it.
Greg, at what point will you allow yourself to look at the leaderboard?
Oh, I'll watch it.
You're always looking
before
at
I
it.
get to the it's my home screen on my app.
This guy, he's leading the one and done. He doesn't have any floaters. Life is good in the DuCharme household.
Yeah. Peasants, Rick, you and me.
Yeah.
Peasants.
Just tough
I'll let
stuff.
you know if I see one. Man, I hope I don't.
Oh, you'll know. I'll one up you, Greg. The next 3 weeks will decide this one and done. We are going to go to the Memorial, 20 mil. We're going to go to the US Open, TBD, but something in the $20 million range. Then we are going to go to the Travelers, 20 mil, $60-ish million of purses in the next 3 weeks. It's going to be a run. Cannot wait.
The Memorial is so cool. It has major championship feel. I'm a big fan of the golf course. Always seems to show out. I'm excited to see Pinehurst again. See how that's developed. That always seems to deliver. I mean, maybe 2014 wasn't great. That was a little bit of a runaway, but it's delivered some good ones in the past. And the Travelers is low key one of the best tournaments of the year. So this is a really fun stretch.
I will get a milkshake at some point next week in honor of the Memorial.
Yeah,
Yes.
why not tonight?
Well, I'll tell you why, Greg. Because I like the ones from Chick-fil-A, and they are closed on Sundays.
Okay.
All right.
Otherwise, you could have talked me into it.
What's the flavor, Rick?
I believe it is called cookies and cream.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of that.
It's delicious.
Yeah. Maybe that's only a out west thing, though.
No, it's not.
The big storyline, Patrick, for the Memorial is blank.
The big storyline for the Memorial is, well, John Rahm's not playing for the first time in a while, which is kind of nuts. Feels like he's usually a free bingo square there. I think it is kind of, is the big three on the PGA Tour now Scotty, Xander, and Rory? Or will someone else finally dip their toes into the winner's circle, like a Colin Morikawa?
Greg, here are some, I'm just going to read off a list here. Ludwig, Morikawa, Sam Burns, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Max Homa, Tommy Fleetwood, Victor Hovland, Patrick Cantlay, Will Zalatoris, Tony Finau, Matt Fitzpatrick.
Russell Henley.
Russell Henley. I'm going to stop there.
Yeah.
0 wins. You and I have as many wins as those players do.
which is fascinating. There's some work to do. It's like the season. We're beyond the halfway point of the season. There's
It's June.
Yes, and the season ends in August. Right, there's 2 signature events left, 2 majors left. It's go time for a lot of these guys. They got to find something in their game. Now, some of those players that you mentioned, like Morikawa and Victor, have shown signs that they are on the right track. Others, like Will Zalatoris, has kind of shown signs it's going the other way. It's been very quiet. It's been very quiet for Fitzpatrick. Finau has been really hard to figure out. Cantlay has been impossible to figure out. This is the tough time of year for these guys. They really got to kick it into gear, and it starts at the Memorial.
Anything else?
I don't know why that is. All that many players struggling. I because it's not even that they haven't won, right? Many of them haven't contended.
It's not even like right. It's not like, oh yeah, Scotty just has nipped you guys. It's like these guys haven't even been in the mix. Like Wyndham Clark has, I guess he does have a win, right? He has a win, and then
yes,
yeah. But he like if he didn't have a win, but he had those 2 or 3 really good finishes and Scotty nipped him, that's one thing. These guys haven't hardly contended.
No, Xander's been nipped by Scotty, but played really well. Been nipped by a lot of guys. Morikawa, I think, he's starting to at least put results on the board. I think his game is very clearly trending in the right direction, whether it's there or not. So I'm very curious about him if he can keep it up. I think the Memorial should be a great spot for him. Victor's won there before. Should be a great spot for him. Is this a turning point for Patrick Cantlay, who loves the Memorial? It should be a great spot for him as well. So those are going to be some fascinating storylines when you have Scotty Scheffler now, a free man with all that off of his plate.
Yeah.
Who Scotty Scheffler last year at the Memorial came in 3rd and lost 8 strokes.
Oh my God.
My God.
He
gained 4 million strokes from tee to green.
He's going to win by 100.
Yeah, he literally is going to win by 100.
All these other guys stink, and he just destroyed the place from tee to green by like 25 strokes.
Yeah.
And he can putt now. And now he doesn't even have jail hanging over his head.
I mean, he's got nothing to work. He's like me, no floaters, no jail to deal with, nothing to deal with.
Unbelievable. He's going to win by 100.
Everyone else, just peasants on the PGA Tour.
Wow.
Scotty by 100.
Anything else, Patrick? Anything else you want to get off your chest before we close up shop?
Tom Kim. Just one more Tom Kim take.
It's always with Tom Kim.
Well, he's a global superstar, Rick. I think Tom Kim, if my math is correct, he is in the midst of a 7-week stretch of playing.
I hope
7 straight weeks.
I hope that you don't need math. I hope that you can just count to 7.
Well, I had to use the calculator for this. 1 + 1 + 1 +
Wait.
1 + 1.
This week was 7, or it's going to be 7?
It's going to be, because he played Wells Fargo, PGA, Schwab. This week is 4. Next week's 5. US Open 6, and then Travelers will be 7.
That's very good math.
He's committed to Travelers.
I almost lost it, honestly, on my finger.
The changeover is tough.
I got lost in the count.
So then he'll take off. Wow. Because then he'll probably take off Rocket Mortgage and John Deere. He will probably play Scottish and Open.
Mm-hmm.
He'll take off
last year.
He'll take off 3M. He'll go to the Olympics.
Yes.
He probably won't play Wyndham. Then he'll just play the 3-play. Wow. He's going to be a busy boy.
Yeah, busy boy.
He's a young lad.
He's young. He's got money.
Put Tesori to work.
Yeah, right. Dude, Rory has mentioned how much he loves Paul Tesori like 9 times. I like Paul Tesori too, though, but I don't bring it up in every interview, but he is a great guy.
You think there's some Like a little tampering, perhaps?
I think there's some collusion.
Is that what it's called in the NBA, tampering, when they're doing trades, but they're talking to each other behind closed doors?
You think he's lining up his next bag man?
Maybe.
Wow. You heard it here first.
I will say, when Paul and Webb went their separate ways, it had a lot to do with Webb wanting to play a lighter schedule and Paul wanted to be full time. And from the sounds of it, Patrick, with all of your math, he's getting his wish with Tom Kim.
Paul's like, okay, not this much actually.
Yeah.
I was hoping for like
models and math.
Paul's great though, by the way. Okay. We will do this all again next week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Josh, are we doing that live show on Friday? Because if we are, I don't know about it and I will put it on my schedule, but I haven't heard anything. So I'm going to assume we are not. We don't think so. Okay. If that changes, we will let you know. Big thanks to producer Josh for all the hard work behind the scenes. Patrick McDonald is available at P McDonald CBS. That is Greg DuCharme. You can find him at The Real GFD, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.